While Stuart had been speaking, Nathan had quickly written a note on a piece of parchment addressed to his sister, telling her to treat him well. On top of this, he wrote a recipe for the potion of foundational strength and encouraged her to treat him with it once a week until he returned. After Nathan gave the warrior captain his note, he turned back to Ghostwalker one last time. "Be good, my friend, and train hard in your free time. When I return, I promise to reveal to you the secrets of the power of Asura. Few on this planet have the strength and the willpower to handle those lessons, but by then, you'll have the fortitude to learn my form of magic and use it on the battlefield with me." Ghostwalker merely snorted and blinked twice. Nathan wasn't sure if he understood his meaning yet. "That's okay, my friend. I will explain it all to you in due time. For now, stretch your legs and enjoy the sun-baked journey home." With that, Nathan and his friends turned back towards the center of the plaza where the aristocracy examination stadium had been. Now, the area had been converted into a series of tables where they went to announce their participation in the upcoming trials. After that was done, they poured into a large atrium where spiritual fighting youths sat in preparation for the trial orientation to begin. Several hours later, Ghostwalker flared his nostrils as he trotted down the main road toward Dunshire. The afternoon sun warmed up his bare back as he sniffed the fresh scents of newly blossomed flowers on the hills outside of the distant hamlet. The house Lightstone's shoulders rode brown-coated mares who barely even looked at him, despite his attempts to sniff them. Ghostwalker's thoughts drifted to the wide-open fields his new master had promised him, and wondered if he'd get to eat any apples, his favorite little treat. Out of the blue, Ghostwalker's ears perked up. He groaned as he immediately swung up his head towards the tops of the surrounding hills. The captain at the front of the column frowned. "What is it, boy? What's got you spooked?" "Charge!" Before the House Lightstone warriors could blink, they found themselves surrounded by 50 ragged-looking highwaymen who popped up from behind boulders and raced down the hill on both sides toward the startled escort crews. The Lightstone captain drew his lance from his back and pointed it at the approaching enemy. "Quickly, men, protect the horse. We must flee at once. We must—" An arrow lodged in the captain's throat as he swiftly slid off of his mount and fell dead to the ground. The ambush had officially begun. As the ragged band made contact with the Lightstone warriors, the remaining members of the escort tried to form a defensive line as Ghostwalker took off down the road at a gallop. Ghostwalker breathed hard as his hooves flew across the cobblestone road. The highwaymen tried to race after him, but were held back by the escort. Even then, he knew the Lightstone warriors could only buy him a few minutes' head start. He would not waste their sacrifice. Ghostwalker galloped hard across an ocean of green grass. Off in the distance, the ambush battle raged on. Ghostwalker did not know which way he was meant to go. However, he knew he had to flee the scene before he could be captured by the ragged band of highwaymen. The great stallion couldn't help but crane his neck and look over his shoulder at the sound of approaching horses. 4 highwaymen on coarse mountain ponies gave chase to Ghostwalker, and though he was certainly a faster sprinter, he knew that eventually he'd grow tired enough for them to pounce. Before Ghostwalker could figure out what his best course of action was, he suddenly felt the air around his head change. Before Ghostwalker knew what was going on, 2 arrows landed right in front of him, forcing him to rear up and come to a complete halt.
"Gotcha now, you mangy nag!"
Suddenly, a weighted net was thrown over the white stallion's head, and despite his best efforts to escape, he knew that it was only a matter of time before he'd be on the ground, waiting for an unknown future. Angry horse neigh. The 4 riders surrounded Ghostwalker and chuckled malevolently as they prepared to throw more ropes over him. Ghostwalker hung his head in defeat. He'd somehow managed to fail his new master already.
"Come on, you dirty nag. Let's get you back home where you belong."
The lead rider raised his lance menacingly as if to prod Ghostwalker into moving. But before he could bring down his lance, his face went pale. The lead rider frowned and looked down to find an arrow popping out of his chest. He slowly slid off his horse and fell dead to the ground, as a loud voice boomed out from a nearby stand of trees. "Warriors of House Hayfield, charge!" Warriors shouting, many horses galloping. Suddenly, the 3 remaining riders looked up and realized that 100 mounted warriors rode out of the trees to counter-ambush the Highwaymen's attack. Their banner was that of House Hayfield, and leading from the front was Lord Ulrich himself. The ragged mounted bandits made a run for it, but were swiftly cut down by the massive cavalry charge, which continued all the way back to the road where the last of the House Lightstone escort warriors were still fighting for their lives against the rest of the highwaymen on foot. Ghostwalker snorted as he wriggled around his head and tried to knock the weighted net off of him while the battle commenced. Ghostwalker could not see clearly through the mesh of the net, but it was obvious that the mounted charge had decimated the band of bandits and sent them running for the hills. "Whoa there, mighty stallion. Rest easy, and I'll free you soon." As Ghostwalker continued to struggle, he soon realized that a calming figure had ridden up to him and dismounted to come to his aid. The kind older man was once again Lord Ulrich, his armor speckled with the blood of his enemies. Lord Ulrich had been busy ever since the raid by House Raven on his lands, and word of his house's glorious defense had spread far and wide across Calandria. Therefore, it had not taken him long to bolster the ranks of his guardsmen for the hamlet of Dunshire and for the newly acquired town of Ravenswood. However, the number of warriors seeking to join him did not stop there, so he had begun to build up his own sizable warrior band, like the other high lords of the realm. Rather than wield his men as mere political tools, Lord Ulrich decided to put their freshly made oaths to the test and lead them out to patrol his lands in search of the roving bands of bandits that had terrorized his people for many decades. Prioritizing quality and speed over quantity, Lord Ulrich still had the smallest warrior band in the fiefdom, but their mounted swordsmanship abilities made them uniquely suited to strike fast and counteract their local enemies. At this rate, it would not be long before tales of Lord Ulrich's deeds became the stuff of songs and legends, just like his son. Lord Ulrich smiled as he lifted the net off of Ghostwalker's head. "There you go, my friend. You are quite the beauty, aren't you? Go on and be free of their treachery now." Immediately, Ghostwalker licked him and took a deep sniff. The scent of the man immediately reminded him of his new master. As Lord Ulrich petted the horse, one of his new lieutenants rode up to him and saluted. "Status report, sir. 20 of the bandit scum lie dead or dying, sir. We've only sustained a single injury, but half a dozen Lightstone men have fallen. We drove the last of the highwaymen off into the rocks. It'll be hard to finish them off, as they'll most likely slip away by nightfall." "At ease, Lieutenant. Make sure our wounded get all the aid they need. We saved the High Lord Lightstone's men, as well as this magnificent stallion. That's good enough for today." "About that, sir, we found this parchment slip on the dead Lightstone captain's person." Lord Ulrich frowned, then took the parchment. It was the letter that Nathan had written only hours earlier, addressed to Amelia. "Ah, the heavens shine down upon us today, it seems. This horse belongs to my son, it seems." Lord Ulrich rolled up the letter and turned back to Ghostwalker, who had continued sniffing and grazing on the open grass around him. "Well then, Ghostwalker, it seems you're coming home with us then. Lady Amelia will certainly be pleased. We'll just have to make sure she doesn't spoil you so much that Nathan can't ride you upon his return. Come along now. Why don't you ride at the front of the column, beside me?" Horse snorts happily. Ghostwalker nodded his head and blinked twice. He'd had enough adventure for one day. Obediently, he followed his master's father over to his horse and prepared himself for an easy-going trot into Dunshire. Meanwhile, in Godricshall Plaza, Nathan and his friends sat amongst an anxious crowd of spiritual fighting youths. All of them murmured with each other and fidgeted impatiently for the trial orientation to begin. Suddenly, the crowd fell silent as a proud-looking man in golden armor approached the center of the square. He smiled at the faces all around him and proudly beat the breastplate of his armor as he spoke. "Greetings, young warriors of Godric's land. I am Sir Kyle, the chief steward of Duke Godricson's keep, and the leader of his war band in the field of battle. It is my honor to personally welcome you to the Doom Faction Trial Orientation."
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.